Should surrogate parenthood be a sex offense? Angelino Alfano, the Interior Minister of Italy, says it should. Let's explore. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Now, surrogacy is to me pretty much like prostitution. I think it's largely immoral, but I also think it should be legal if all parties consent, since no one is really harmed. Quite the opposite, actually. A new life is being created where it would not have previously been possible. But anyway, let's first read the Italian minister's position. So The Guardian titles, "Treat surrogate parents as sex offenders," says Italian minister. Angelino Alfano says wombs for rent should be punishable with prison, as he suggests new laws will make it easier for gay couples to use surrogate mothers. Italy's interior minister has called for surrogate parents to be treated as sex offenders as part of a broader campaign against the prime minister's efforts to grant family rights to same-sex couples. "We want wombs for rent to become a universal crime and that it is punished with prison, just as happens for sexual crimes," Angelino Alfano said on Wednesday. The minister's comments outline the fierce debate over family rights underway in Italy as the country prepares to give gay couples legal rights for the first time. The push for same-sex unions and stepchild adoption rights has proved perhaps the greatest challenge for the first 2 years of Matteo Renzi's coalition government. Surrogacy is illegal in Italy and punishable by steep fines and up to 2 years in prison, although a legal gray area has meant that couples who travel abroad for surrogacy are not prosecuted when they return home. Treating couples who use surrogate mothers as sex criminals, as Alfano suggested, would entail harsh penalties. Stepchild adoption really risks bringing wombs for rent to the country towards the most repugnant illicit trade that man could have invented, Alfano told the Avvenire newspaper, which is owned by the Italian Bishops' Conference. "If Italy has a law that allows stepchild adoption for gay couples, the day after we will start a huge collection of signatures for a repeal referendum, and I will be the first in line," he added. Mario Colamarino, president of the Circolo Mario Mieli, a gay rights association, said the minister's comments were unacceptable and accused Alfano of a misinformation campaign. "Stepchild adoption is a situation which already exists. We see children without rights," he said, referring to children born to same-sex Italian couples through surrogacy. Now, stop right there for a little bit. Who the hell does this Mario Colamarino thinks he is to say that a minister's political position is unacceptable? I mean, all civilized countries, and Italy is no exception, have protection for the political speeches of elected officials precisely so they can say pretty much anything. Now, this Mario guy can disagree, but to say that it is unacceptable shows the high level of entitlement that resides within the LGBTist lobby. No, cupcake, anything is acceptable, regardless of whether you agree or not. Anyway, let's get back to the article. Quote, "Gay couples have in the past gone abroad to have families through legal channels, although on their return to Italy only one partner can have parental rights. This affects everyday life, such as who can pick a child from school or make decisions about their medical care. This has been challenged in individual cases brought by same-sex couples, some of whom have been granted the right to adopt. Renzi's law has been stalled by amendments tabled by the political right, but the Prime Minister says he is committed to pushing through the legislation and has allowed his MPs a conscience vote on the bill. Renzi is facing pressure from the European Court of Human Rights, which ruled last year that Italy had breached the rights of same-sex couples by failing to offer them legal protection. While Alfano has agreed to legislation for same-sex partnership, a position supported by the majority of Italians, his rejection of marriage and adoption rights has widespread support among conservatives. A family day held in June brought hundreds of thousands of people to Rome marching against proposed legal changes and lessons about gay families in schools. The Catholic Church, which still has considerable influence over Italian politics, has stood firm in its opposition to same-sex relationships. Now, notice the spin of The Guardian. So this evil monster is actually in agreement with partnerships for non-straight couples and is in line with the majority of Italians both on this issue and on the adoption issue, where the majority of Italians, not just the conservatives as The Guardian insists, have reservations and would thus rather abstain from throwing themselves into this. The most recent poll I was able to find, link in the low bar, shows that only 24% of Italians support adoption for non-straight couples. Most likely, even less than that supports legalization for wombs for rent, as Alfano phrased it. Meanwhile, 67% of Italians have a favorable view of partnerships, and a slim majority of 51% have a favorable view on non-straight marriage. Also, Renzi isn't actually facing pressure from the ECHR because the ECHR never ruled that non-straight marriage is a human right. That's a complete fiction by The Guardian. I mean, even their own link shows that the ECHR just recommended that they pass some sort of limited partnership just to solve that particular case. That's it. And it makes sense so, because the ECHR is formed by all nations of Europe except Belarus, Switzerland, Vatican City, and recently Russia, which withdrew from it. But Russia was still part of it at the time of the ruling. As such, the ECHR rulings must make sure that they don't piss off half or more of its members. I suspect the current government in Poland would be quite unhappy, and that is to put it mildly, if the ECHR would have handed down a binding ruling that non-straight marriage is a human right. Anyway, the thing is that as a public policy, I would actually allow surrogate mothers to sell their services for the simple reason that I believe everyone owns his or her body. And unlike abortion, where reasonable arguments can be made that it is also someone else's body at stake, in the case of surrogate motherhood, no third parties are harmed in any way. In fact, it actually helps bring more children into the world, so life itself is being created, not impaired. It is a bit weird that Italy, which legalized abortion in 1978, is unwilling to legalize a procedure that would help create life rather than destroy it. I mean, come to think of it, opposition to surrogacy makes very little sense from a conservative point of view, and even less sense from a libertarian point of view. Now, the fact that gay couples could or would use it as well is merely a footnote anyway, and more importantly, they're already doing it, under far less safe conditions. So there is no identifiable gain to keeping it forbidden. More to the point, it is a lot more preferable for gay couples to get children in this fashion than to get them via adoption, at least as far as I'm concerned. Now, Alfano opposes all forms of surrogacy, paid or unpaid, and this is a bad position to take in and of itself, since it also excludes the cases of charitable or voluntary surrogacy, where a female friend helps out an infertile straight couple. To me, it makes even less sense to oppose those as a matter of public policy. Now, notice that I say as a matter of public policy, because on moral grounds, things can and indeed do stay quite differently. Alfano, for instance, says that surrogacy for cash is the most repugnant illicit trade that man could have invented. But I'm sorry, that's not a public policy argument. For instance, I believe that charging people fees to sell them feminist propaganda is the most repugnant trade man could have invented, but I would never try to make it illegal to do so. Anyway, I will continue to follow the situation in Italy more closely and maybe come back with a follow-up video as the debate unfolds. Oh, maybe Alfano will nuance his position, or maybe the public changes its mind again. So, it's an ongoing story in Italy with this topic, and we'll cover it here on Freedom Alternative as new developments occur. So, that's it for now with this topic. What do you guys think? Should surrogacy be illegal? Why or why not? Is surrogacy really an LGBTist issue, or is it just being hijacked and used as a tool by the progressivist lobby? Tell me in the comments and let's bounce ideas around. Maybe I will change my mind. Who knows? Talk to you all later. Thank you for watching.